from the beginning of this build, I've always had in mind speaker grills. That's why I left this reveal down here. This is why I made sure the framing, I already bought the framing pieces before I actually built the face. Wanted to make sure the circles actually fit, and they do. That way the frame doesn't interfere with them at all. And I went ahead and I made my frame, and right now I've actually got some hot glue on each piece, and I'm letting it set up so that way when I take my frame out it doesn't fall apart. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue up each piece and probably put a brad in each end, you know, to make sure it all stays together. And that way I have a grill framing that I can actually sand the corners just slightly. You want to keep the definition, but you don't want it to be too sharp. And then also I'll paint it black, that way it doesn't show actually through the speaker grill material. And as you can see, we do have our speakers in. You're pretty much seeing a preview of the finished product here. And these are not, like I said, I'm not going to be able to find out exactly when or where these actually sit until I get diaphragms installed, because they stick out of the bottom. I can't get it out now, darn it. These are all nice and screwed in place, which I'll be taking them back out. They're just temporary. And the frame is now built. Alright, with our speaker grill frames built and painted, I need to put together a couple tweeters so we can finish those last holes, and then we'll be ready for some assembly. I went ahead and I put one of the tweeters together. I knew they were small, but I was really surprised about that. I mean, that diaphragm literally sticks over the edge. And that's why they actually have the little rings around them. But to solve that situation, what I did is I went ahead and I took my Dremel and I cut me a lip right here. You can see just a tiny bit of that edge, and my tweeter will go in like so. And that way it actually covers all the wood on the far side. Okay, I've gotten to the point where I'm actually putting some tweeters together out of some new old diaphragms. And I've run across a small problem that I haven't run across before on a knob fixing Infinity loudspeakers. And it's this. Normally I have to deal with these big round guys. You know, there's a whole different kind of procedure that goes with those. And I've figured these out. I've already done this one. But something I've run across is the way the diaphragm actually fits. And something that you're going to run across if you actually are replacing new diaphragms in these little Emits is the same thing I ran across. And it's these two nubs here, which are on both sides of a diaphragm. These two notches are supposed to actually take care of that. And the smaller ones, the notches are too small, and they cause it to rock up on the side like that. So you have to take a Dremel or something and actually notch these out a little bit more so they fit better, like so. See how you can see the nubs there. The second thing I've run across is this. As I said before, there's like a coating or something on here, and I've always figured that they were actually stick on, and they are. This one was peeling back, and this one was just completely missing entirely. So a good easy fix for that, good old Scotch tape. I kind of looked long and hard for what would go over top of this, and the only thing I could come up with that was as thin as the plastic layer goes across the yellow coating would be the Scotch tape. So that is an option also. On the second ones here, I seem to have a bit of a dilemma. I already know that I gotta buy one of these to make them all match. Sadly, I have one of the blue ones. Even though it's exactly the same, it does the exact same function, it doesn't look the same. So maybe I'll be able to trade it off to somebody or something. I'll have to look into that. But to come back to these three guys, I have a real dilemma here. This one, a little scuzzy looking. I figure I can buff that up and no problem at all. This one here, the magnets have actually come off the back of the the plate, and I'm not really sure about how to get them put back on properly, and I think one of them's broken also, so that just adds to the dilemma. And then of course I have number 3 here. I don't know what happened to this thing. I mean, it looks like just regular steel. I don't know. I believe these are chrome plated, I would think. But I'm going to take it out to the garage, hit it with some steel wool, and then try to buff it up and see if it actually will buff up. And if it doesn't, then I have to figure out what I'm going to do with this guy and fixing it. And if it does, then I'll use this guy. And if this one cleans up, I'll use this guy. So the real thing is I'm really just trying not to buy anything else. This was a project of what leftovers and what was in the garage, and not a project of buying parts all over the place. So I'm going to take it out of the garage and see what happens. Got to be a little careful about where I put my camera down with all these magnets sitting around. I went out in the garage and first I scrubbed it, and then I polished it and polished it and polished it. And no, it is just a flat steel Emit tweeter. I've never seen one. I mean, it's not chromed, it's not stainless, it's not, I don't know what it is. It's just flat steel, carbon steel. So it has left me with a dilemma because of this guy here is missing 2 magnets. And actually one was all crumbled up. It's been sitting in some boxes for a long time, so as I said, you know, they haven't been treated the best. But in my rounds, I did find one. And as I was looking at this guy, I thought, what the heck? So I went ahead with my buffing wheel, and I got one of these guys real hot. Then I put it up against the edge of my bench, and I just gave it a little notch. And I had okay luck with this guy, which came off in 2 pieces, which I believe would go right back together and wouldn't be an issue. But I did get this one off in 1 piece, and I'm not even going to pick it up at the moment because I'm afraid I'm going to break it, which I don't want to do that. Now this one crumbled, so I guess it's given its life for another to live on, because as I said, this is not even close. I mean, it's amazing, and it has a shine to it, but it's definitely a steel, and it's not been plated, or it had been plated on the inside at least, if it just wore off. But I don't understand it, and I'll just put it up on the shelf as one of those mysteries that I don't need to understand. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this tweeter, then we're going to get some built and put into the last of the 2 new boxes. Earlier in the episodes, I did a detail rebuilding of an Emit tweeter. Well, I have found these smaller ones compared to these big round ones here to be a little different. Now, they normally come with the front plate, the back plate, these 2 pieces of plastic, and this clear guy here. And these 2 pieces of plastic are different thicknesses. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to tell on the camera here. And the reason I point this out is because when you put your tweeters together, now I like to put this down at the bottom because that's what they did in the other ones. These had it between, actually here. They would put that on, and then they would put this on. I don't think there's really a difference. I think one's just a shim for the other one. So I tend to put mine on the bottom. And then you want to put the thinner of the 2 pieces on top of this. And you'll notice that it's because it actually brings the surface up above the magnets. And the thing about it is, with a thicker piece, it'll do that also. But it'll bring it up a lot more. But the thinner piece will not cover up to the edge of the magnets. So it's just something you have to be aware of. It's, in my world, it's clear plastic guy, little plastic guy on the face, thick plastic guy on the back, and assemble it just like you would the other ones. Alright, we just finished up our second speaker grill, and we have the little pull tab here because you're going to see why in a second. We're going to go ahead and put you in. That fits nice. The reason we put that little pull tab, of course, is because it actually fits nice enough that you would never get it out without pushing it out from the back, because that was a problem I was having a few minutes ago. So, I think this will work out quite nice. Of course, you won't be able to see through it when we're done, but time to move on to other things. Alright, I went ahead and I got my magnets installed. Just use a little super glue, a couple dabs, make sure they're secure. I saw some kind of residue on the back from these magnets, and super glue grabbed it like it does on the commercials. I was very surprised for metal on a magnet, so seemed to work out quite well. And then I went ahead with my Scotch tape here and put a layer across each one of the magnets. As I said in a past video, you got to be really careful when you clean these. You want to clean them outward, away from the edges, because that'll happen. And this was already happening prior to me getting them. I just wanted the diaphragms out of them when I got them, so I wasn't worried about it. But that's what is on top of the yellow, and I'm not sure what the yellow is, and mine's a little scuffed up there in the middle, and I'm hoping it doesn't cause any real issues. But yeah, there's a thin layer of plastic over top of them, and it's almost exactly the thickness of the Scotch tape, so it works out real well. On another note, I did notice something about these two different steel and chrome plated face plates, and the oddity about it is they're not even shaped the same. If you notice down here, these grills stop. This is all like one separate punch piece by itself. On these, they do not stop. These lines just go right on down to the edge, and they are, for being top of the line speakers, I am amazed. I mean, I'm sure these have seen better days, but you can see where they kind of broke out the pieces of the inside here without doing any finishing work. Now this one looks a little better. And the only horrifying thing to think about right now is actually trying to go back and get this stuff out now with these magnets on the back. And that brings me to another cautionary tale. Do not scrub the front of these with anything like steel wool or something of that nature, because the steel wool will come off and it'll stick to these magnets, and it'll look like, if you can see real close there, you can see little fine pieces of steel wool where I was going over it, and I don't think you would ever get those out if you really tried. So I would suggest don't use steel wool. But I had no choice. I had to try something with these guys, and of course, you know, it didn't work, so it was broken and it didn't work, so I'm kind of at the same spot I was before, so there's no loss. So this guy will go back in the box, and God forbid I need another magnet off the back of it, because the rest of them are kind of chunked up. So back in the box it goes, and I need to get to assembling some tweeters. Usually when you get an expensive little box like this, jewelry is in it. In our case, it's diaphragms. It's time to finish putting this thing together. Alright, my tweeters are done. Got my crossover in my back. Got my box. Get rid of the screen. Time to put something together. Couple screws, the back is on. Wiring's done. Just putting on the last of the little felt feet here. I tried rubber on another set before, and when I set them on top, they seem to discolor the wood. So I'm going to pass on that and go with the felt. And I put actually 2 pads in the back and 1 in the front, so that way it'll actually sit up a little bit more of an angle. And I think it's time for a reveal. I don't think they turned out too bad. I still have another eye that I need to pick up off of eBay that hasn't got here yet. Yeah, I'm fully cheating all the way around. But again, they are in the spirit of infinities. And there, I just go ahead and flip one around here. Kind of proud of the backs also. I mean, they turned out really nice. I even went ahead and added the E to the RSA for Emits. Again, I wish I could let you all hear them, but there's no reason to, because all you would hear is tss. And on top of that, anything else you heard would probably be copyrighted, and I'd have to talk over top of it anyway. But they do sound good. I do have, or what I should say is I did buy a speaker selector because I really want to add them to my stack, but it was DOA. I want to be able to balance how much of the RSAs I add to the group and how much of the new tweeter package that I add to the group. And just hooking them up would kind of like add too many ohms to my receiver also, so I need to find a decent selector. I really want to add these RSAs down here to my RS3As, the 4 of them, and I want to put my tweeters on top, just like so. One over there, one over here, kind of like they fit in. It's been an awesome project. Took a lot longer than I thought it would. I mean, the video is even 2 videos long, and I really thought it was only going to be something I would add to another video. And I'm pretty happy with them and pretty proud of them, to be honest. Thanks for coming along with me on this journey, and hope you may have picked up something or may have inspired you to build something of your own. Thanks again. It's all I can do, keep waiting for you.